Hey folks, Robbie Payne with Chrome Unboxed here, coming at you today with an unboxing of the Acer Chromebook 13. And this is a much anticipated device. As most of you probably know by this time, this device is the first Chromebook available running the Tegra K1 processor. And so what that kind of brings is a hope of fanless, thin, powerful design. It has a GPU with 192 cores. It is an ARM processor. But it is a very, very high-powered one that is featured in the NVIDIA Shield tablet at this point in time. Now, at this point, there is also the new HP 14 that's coming out, I think in October at some point, that is also going to feature this processor as well. But for right now, this is the main Chromebook with that. And along with that, from what I've read online, some premium build pieces too. 1080p screen, 4 gigs of RAM, a nice spacious keyboard, 13-inch design. Some better plastics used. It is still plastic throughout, and not an IPS display. And from what I've read, again, not the best display in the world. So kind of bummed about that. But we're gonna unbox it, look and see what's inside the box real quick, kind of get an initial hands-on, and I'll be using this for some work-related things in the next week. Kind of get back with you and let you know what I find out with it. As I've said, there are a lot of reviews that dropped a few weeks ago from some of the more major tech firms there got their hands on this and had time to use it. So this isn't the first hands-on by any means. And this box has been beat up. But having used pretty much every Chromebook that's available, hopefully I can give you a good idea. So we got a pretty standard looking Acer box here. No real frills on the outside. It looks like that same troublesome opening here that I think by now I've finally gotten good at opening this thing. Makes it easier. They didn't tape over top of this part. A whole lot simpler to open. And pretty standard fare when it comes to Acer packaging. Just looks like a bigger version of the C720 packaging. Same kind of stuff. Plug's a little different. A little more narrow here. With the C720 we kind of get the more square but thin. This is more along the lines of what Samsung does with theirs. And of course, your normal Acer warranty stuff, FCC info, that kind of thing. A couple extra cardboard pieces here. Oops, excuse me. Setup guide, which every time I open one of these I say this. Don't really need those so much with Chromebooks. And so let's get this out of the way and bring this guy into view. Now, first blush, I'm looking at it and feeling it, going, feels a lot like the C720p white. Because I actually do kind of like the feel of the white C720. Very thin, very slim line. Hopefully you can tell that kind of from this video. Very, very thin. Ports across the back. Not sure how I feel about that yet, but after some time we'll get used to it and see how it feels. 3.0 here, HDMI full size. Another 3.0, which is nice, so they didn't go down to 2.0, so you got two USB 3 full-size SD card slot. Looks like it's going to fit flush in there. We will find out again on that. I know a lot of you guys care about that. Speaker ports on the bottom, so we'll see how that speaker quality sounds. And then relatively decent finish here. Obviously matte finish. I'll touch on it here a little bit. Can't really reflect any light off of it because it doesn't reflect anything, and so it's pretty hard to see. It does pick up some fingerprints, not too shabby on the bottom, not really much at all. A little more texturized down here. All the screw ports are available here, so I'm assuming you could probably pop this open and maybe mess with the SSD in it. I'm not sure. Let's go ahead and open this up. No one-handed open. That stinks. Still waiting for another Chromebook to have that feature. We got the full HD, 1080p HD, and it amounts to very nice travel on the keyboards, or on the keys and the keyboard. Very nice and spacious, lots of room. again, trackpad, a lot of these build materials feel a lot like the C720p. I'm surprised nobody's really pointed that out, but I'm using the C720p, the white 32 gig, 4 gigs of RAM as my daily driver now, and so it feels a lot like it. And so I'll definitely put these side by side in the review so you can kind of see the similarities there. Keys feel way better than the C720p though. The 720 to me feels a little mushy. A lot of times these have some good travel, some good click. Yeah, I like that a whole lot better. Trackpad feels very similar as far as the texture to the C720. However, the click sounds real nice. And I know some of you probably don't really care about that, but to me it's just a mark of quality. When there's a loud, hollow sounding, kind of clacky sound, it just reeks of poor build, and this sounds very solid, kind of nice and quiet. So and the trackpad feels nice, very nice, smooth plastic. Let me plug this guy in because it's gonna. Well, let me see if it'll power up better. As many of you all know, these things ship and they're unable to turn on until they've been plugged into a power source, and that was close. Luckily, there's a plug right behind me here, so bear with me for just a second, and we don't have to bother cutting away. So far, I'm a big fan of the build, the feel, the look of the device. I have a gut feeling I'm not going to be real happy with the monitor, the display. Seems to be an ongoing trend, but you can see, I mean, hold it this way, the thinness of this guy is impressive. It's got some heft to it. It's not like no creaking though. I mean, it's just solid. You know, that's kind of hold by the corner test and see if it creaks and moves. None of that's going on. Matte finish display. Not always the biggest fan of that myself. It is useful if you are outdoors, but for the most part, I think it degrades the quality of the display a little bit. So I'm not a huge fan of that, but it is what it is. So it kind of gives a grainy look to the display, and it is doing that exact thing here. Let's see, crank up the brightness a little bit. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Let me get on the Wi-Fi network here so we can at least get signed in. And again, we have some of the issue with the 1080p screen being making things a little small. It's just going to be the way it is until Chrome OS has some scaling ability. And at that point, really, you really just need to be able to scale up a handful of things in the UI, not really everything across the board. It'd be nice if you could just make the icons a little bigger, that kind of thing. Keyboard feels great, really, really great. Trackpad feels really good too, real responsive, nice and smooth. And there's no way for you all to tell here, but if you've ever looked at a matte finish display, Acer C720, I'm trying to think of another that had a matte finish on it. It causes the anti-glare film kind of causes some issue with transparency. So instead of like looking through glass and looking at a screen, it's kind of like you're looking through. The best thing I can relate it to is if you're looking at a phone that's been against someone's face for a little while, and they pull it away, and you look at it, and it's kind of got the grimy stuff on it from their face. That's kind of what this looks like. It's not pixelization. It's just granular. It's hard to explain, but it's actually really pronounced, way more than I expected it to be honest with you. So that's kind of a letdown. Let me set it to a darker wallpaper and see if it's less pronounced here. If it's going to let me. Let's do this one always like that. Yeah, and on darker stuff, it's nowhere near as pronounced. The lighter colored stuff, like even right now, I can see around here, you get that. It just looks like there's a film on it, but you can't get that off. Now, granted, it's nice because I can tilt it any way and there's no glare. But again, with this particular display, you can see as soon as I tilt it forward, you get polarization. When we tilt back, we get polarization. Let me see, are we in the kind of sweet zone here? And then I'm going to turn it to the side. Side viewing angles aren't bad. Not at all, actually. That's nice. At least you get two of the angles aren't that bad. I'll go ahead and plug this now. We're started up. Overall, I really enjoy the build quality. The big test for this thing, obviously, is going to be, this is the first one with the K1 processor in it. How's it going to perform? How's it going to feel? How's it going to do? A lot of the online reviews already have the 2 gig of RAM version, and I know there's a lot of you out there that would say it doesn't matter, 2 gigs of RAM versus 4. For me, daily use makes a huge difference. I've used C720s, and I've used the Acer Chromebook, and I've used multiple Chromebooks with 2 gigs of RAM and run into lots of issues, whereas when I use them with 4 gigs of RAM, I have no issues. So perhaps I'm a heavy user, or I don't think I like that many tabs open, but I do keep a lot of stuff going. Maybe that's just a requirement I need. But I will let you know. Again, right now kind of the reference I'm going against is an Acer C720p, so touchscreen, non-matte display, 1366 by 768. It's got 4 gigs of RAM, 32 gig internal hard drive, and so this is stacks up pretty well against that. This matches all of those things. We're just swapping out the processor and removing the touchscreen, getting a 1080p display. So those things do matter. 1080p versus basic HD, 1366 by 768. It's a little higher than HD, but anyway. Full HD versus that, it's a lot more pixels to be pushing, and so it'll be interesting to watch and see. And I will say my C720p, I keep connected to a full HD monitor almost all the time, all day, every day. So I have not noticed any skips, any lags, any stutters, none of that stuff. It really just moves through anything I need it to do. So I'm holding this to that same level of performance and saying, okay, we don't need to step back, way back. If it has a hiccup here or there, you know, for the thin, fanless design, that might be something you say, hey, I'll give up on that, so that when some of these 3D games start coming via Android apps being on my Chromebook, I'll take it, and that might be you. And I will say, from right here, the screen isn't repulsive. It's not very bright, but you know, it's sharp. It's nice looking, and again, without being against white backgrounds, I guarantee you, I open this up, yep, I'll see that really annoying film over the screen. But on the darker stuff where there's more color on the screen, it looks really great. And to be honest, maybe I was a little shocked when I got the Chromebook 2 with a 1080p display. It's not bothering me nearly as much this time around, everything being a little smaller. And I would say if you wear glasses and have issues seeing smaller text, that is going to bother you. But anyway, that's enough about this for right now. I'll spend a week and a half with it, get back to you with a full review, let you know kind of what I'm thinking about it, how it's performing with this particular chipset in it, and how it could stack up against last year's Haswell chips. And because it doesn't look like we're seeing a lot of Haswell coming down the pipe. It's either this Tegra K1, it's the Bay Trail stuff. So maybe we're at the end of seeing Haswell, and possibly, who knows, we might see some sort of Broadwell chip. I know it's probably not going to be the Core M because those are expensive chips, but as some of those new Broadwell chips come out, we'll probably see some of those in Chromebooks in the next 6 months or so. So we're in an interesting time right now in the life cycle of the Chromebook, and so hopefully this step in a direction of a different ARM processor isn't a huge step back in performance. That's what I'm hoping, but we will see. And I'll get back to you, like I said, in a week and a half with some thoughts on that, some comparisons to the C720p. But until then, check out some of the other videos. Please give this a thumbs up if you liked it. Feel free to subscribe to the channel so that you'll get the update whenever the full review goes up, and the comparison between the C720p goes up as well. Until next time, guys, have a good one.